And one day, God called up Satan on the telephone and said, with a sneer, "So, how's it going down there in hell?" And Satan replied, "Well, hey, things are going pretty great. We've cleaned up the air and the water, and the temperature's better, and the food tastes great. There's no telling what this environmentalist is going to fix next." And God replied, "What? You've got an environmentalist? That's a mistake. He should have never been sent down there. Send him back up." And Satan said, "Oh, no, I like having an environmentalist on the staff. I'm keeping him." God said, "Send him back up here or I'll sue." To which Satan laughed uproariously and said, "Yeah, right. Where are you going to get a lawyer?" My apologies if there's any lawyers in the church. Only kidding. So today is Earth Day, and in honor of Earth Day, I put a screensaver on my laptop as I was trying to get in the mood for this Sunday's service. And on that screensaver, I put some pictures taken from satellites of the Earth. And they are really quite remarkable. But there's one photo that holds me like no other. And it's the one that maybe many of you saw, this photo of Earth floating there against deep blue sea of stars. It was taken not by a robot satellite, let's see it, but by the astronaut Bill Anders on Apollo Mission 8 in 1968. And it stunned the world. It was the first time human beings had ever seen the Earth from space, and the first time we had seen the Earth as it is, this smallish blue marbled globe, holding all that we know and all that we will ever know. And that one photo changed the way human beings understand the Earth now. And because of that understanding, it changed how we live on the Earth. The first Earth Day was one of the direct results of this photo. And in 1978, Anders said, "We came all this way to explore the moon. And the most important thing that we discovered is the Earth." I read this week that every astronaut who ever goes up into space comes back claiming that they've had a spiritual conversion. Many go up as pure scientists, but they come back believing there has to be a greater power. And I believe there's a reason that our Holy Scriptures begin with the story of God breathing across the void, creating heavens and earth, breathing across the earth and calling into life night and day and plants and animals, breathing life into human beings, imprinted with the image of our Creator. Casting a loving eye on all that God created, God saw that it was good. It was very, very good. It was and it is Earth, our fragile island home. Scripture goes on to explain to us that we cannot be in right relationship with God unless we're in right relationship with the land. In Hebrew, land means all that is, the ground and the trees and the plants, the rivers, the seas, animals, and other human beings. Even the air that we breathe is all considered the land when it tells us to take care of it, all of it. God imagined an astonishing world of beauty and plenty for all of us. It's God's gift to us. You know, I have a confession to make. Out of all the sermons I've ever read or heard about the care of the earth, I only remember just one. And the sermon was given by a professor named Ellen Davis. She was preaching from the Hebrew Scriptures, and she said, You know, one day, in the fullness of time, all of creation will be given its voice and will be called to sit down to the table and listen, really listen, and hear the pain that we've caused. And in that moment, I'll never forget, I suddenly knew that I would hear the sadness, the absolute unrelenting sadness and pain that I've caused by abusing one of our finest gifts that we've ever been entrusted with. I imagine hearing the ocean weeping as it was clogged with billions, literally billions of pounds of trash that I helped dump into it. The air choked with pollution that I helped pump out. I would hear the pain of trees being clear cut and mountains being reduced to sludge. I would hear the icebergs melting, groundwater rotting, and I would have to hear the cries of animals being eaten into extinction, and the hunger of mothers and fathers, and the thirst of small children, 5,000 of which die every day just for want of clean water. While I just let the tap run longer and longer so I can get an even colder drink of water. When I thought about it, I was really devastated, and truthfully, I was also completely overwhelmed, because how could I do anything about this, I wondered. Was I being asked to change my whole life? And anyway, what could one person do that would really make any difference? But that sermon, you know, it was the beginning for me. The first tiny ray of light urging me to wake up to the way I live my life every day, to embrace what I'm doing with more awareness and responsibility. It was like a wake-up call like no other I've ever had. And it's never easy to get a wake-up call, is it? But maybe the first step is to really wrap our heads around the reality that we're all connected. Everything is connected, all of it. What I do matters to people I'll never meet. The choices that we all make will affect countries that we'll never visit. The chemicals we pour down our sink will sour our neighbor's water years from now. Simply waking up to the ways that each of us affects just the groundwater around our own homes is a start. And I believe that actually we can do something that will make a difference to someone else. You know, when I was a little girl, and maybe some of you will remember this, people used to just roll their windows down and chuck their trash out. They'd eat in their cars, and it was commonplace to see somebody just throw their Coke can out or their paper cup out or wad their McDonald's wrappers and just toss it out the window without any thought. And most people thought nothing of it. Eat a bag of chips, toss it out. But then Lady Bird Johnson got it into her head that the whole country was a mess, a virtual trash heap. And she started a campaign to clean up the entire country. She wanted to get rid of unsightly billboards, and she wanted us all to stop throwing our trash out the windows of our cars. And the Don't Be a Litter Bug campaign was born. You know, back then, some folks thought that Lady Bird's plan was ridiculous. They said, that'll never work. People will never change their ways. You're not going to get people to quit throwing trash out of their cars. But it did work. And now, if somebody throws trash out of their car window, we're horrified, and we practically do a citizen's arrest. I know, at least if I see somebody throwing it out, I'm trying to get up next to them and give them the old evil eye, like, I saw what you did. It is true, I do. Of course, not everyone respects this cultural norm. But when we don't, well, folks don't look kindly on us. In fact, you can be fined now a great deal of money, and it's now a crime to throw trash out your window. We've changed one by one by one, and we cleaned up the entire country. So what are we to do now? What is God calling us to do now? As people of faith, we must accept the responsibility that God's given to us to be stewards of creation. So we begin to arise from our sleepy state and take stock of how we live our own lives, each one of us. And we start with the little things, making sure our homes are more energy efficient, caulking doors and windows, setting our thermostats back a degree or two, or a degree or two up in the summer. It not only helps our bank accounts, it reduces our carbon footprint, which helps global warming. If every American just changed one of their light bulbs to fluorescent, we would save enough energy to light over 3 million homes a year, or it would be as if we took 800,000 cars off the road. Just one light bulb per person. If each one of us ate just 20% less meat, it would be as if all of us drove a Prius. Eating locally grown fruits and vegetables not only supports our local neighbors, it helps greatly reduce the energy it takes to bring the food from far away to our table. And keeping our tires on our cars at peak air pressure gives us better gas mileage and uses less fossil fuel. Sorry, Carl. Doing what our dads told us, turning off the light in the room when we're not using it, cuts our utility bills. Reuse, recycle, renew. Because, as Henry Thoreau said, what's the use of a fine house if you don't have a tolerable planet to put it on? The Archbishop of Canterbury has spoken often at length about our Christian responsibility towards the earth. He points to the amount of trash we produce, throwing away vast amounts of plastic bags that will never biodegrade, and asks, how does this influence other parts of our lives? Do we think of people and relationships as disposable? God doesn't throw anything away and start again. We are asked to have that same commitment. God does not do waste. One of my best friends wrote me an email not long ago where she was worried that she was not a good person. She said she tries to cut down on her energy consumption. She really cares about the environment, but she feels overwhelmed by the enormity of it all. She asked me, how does this whole mess not just paralyze you? It was a question I have wrestled with more than once, and I've always come up with the same answer. Jesus does not heal all the lepers in Palestine, only the ones right there in front of him. Jesus does not heal all the blind people in Jerusalem, only the one in front of him. Jesus does not feed everyone in Judea, only the 4,000 or 5,000 right in front of him. I can't take care of the whole creation, and neither can you. But we can try to take care of what is right in front of us. We can change one thing at a time. We can teach our children to do the same. This much we can do. And who knows, we might end up cleaning up the whole creation, our fragile island.